He says, we're gonna be on the back of the truck.
Cue us up, we're live. Welcome, everybody, to the May 22nd, 2023 Board of Selectmen meeting. For those of you that don't know us at the table here, to my far left, we have Rebecca Oldham, our Town Administrator, Kathy Castronellis, Selectwoman, Jason Naves, Selectman. To my right, Mark Parento, and Eddie Watson down there. Hi, Ed.
Hi.
All right.
Hi, Fred.
Would everyone please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up, we have public comment. Would anybody like to make any public comments? No one. Jason, would you like to read off the warrants?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve payroll warrant 2347 in the amount of $182,192.22.
Anyone like to second that?
Second, it's not 99 cents?
I got 22.
One of us is right, one of us is wrong. I could have written it down wrong.
Then I will accept that friendly amendment and
Thank you.
make it $182,192.99.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Second warrant.
I'll make a motion to approve bill warrant 2347 in the amount of $901,184.86.
Is there a second?
Second.
Which
He's waiting for me to correct it.
I was.
You're good. Keep going.
I'm going to give the breakdown. The town, $436,453.70. Water and sewer, $166,311.71. Payroll withholding, $27,713.34. Light bills, $234,349.43. Grants and revolving, $36,356.68.
Is there a second on that?
It was already seconded.
Okay. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Next up, we have approval of the minutes, Board of Selectmen meeting minutes of April the 24th, 2023. Has everybody had a chance to read those?
Yes. They were in our correspondence last week.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion? Yeah, sure. I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from April 24th, 2023.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Eddie?
Yes, favor, sure.
It's unanimous. Board of Selectmen meeting minutes of April 10th, 2023.
They look to be in order. I make a motion for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Eddie?
I wasn't here, so.
Okay. 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Appointments of the board. Appointment of Donna Arnold of Pinewood Lane, Groveland, to position of office manager in the Water and Sewer Department for $37.50 an hour per week. Hours per week. Oh, 37 and a half hours a week, I'm sorry. At a rate of $34.67 an hour. Contingent upon a successful query. Sorry, I read
Yep.
that wrong.
I'll make a motion to approve the appointment of, where's she?
Donna.
Yep, I'm just looking at the name again. Donna Arnold, Pinewood Lane, Groveland, to the position of office manager in the Water and Sewer Department for 37.5 hours per week at a rate of $34.67 per hour, contingent upon a successful query check. When would this begin? As of what date?
This would be effective June 12th.
As of June 12th, 2023.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Anyone have any discussion points?
Yep.
Kathy?
Yes, she has an impressive resume. Just so folks will know, she's coming to us from the City of Haverhill Treasury Account Clerk from 5/16 to present. She's worked in a school system in North Andover. She's worked as a financial management associate, and also has an accounting program graduate from the Burden School of Boston. So, and impressive computer skills, more things that I know what they are for, but she must know them, which is fantastic. So she seems really well qualified, and I feel like we're lucky to get her.
Anyone else? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Appointment of Tyler Evans of Crane Neck Street, West Newbury, to the position of seasonal cemetery groundskeeper at a rate of $17 per hour, effective May 23rd, 2023. The position is non-benefit eligible. Appointment subject to a successful query.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself from this agenda item because my husband's a cemetery commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to appoint Tyler Evans of Crane Neck Street, West Newbury, to the position of seasonal cemetery groundskeeper at a rate of $17 an hour, effective May 23rd, 2023. And there'll be a subject to a successful query.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll put it to vote. All those in favor?
Yep.
4 in favor, 1 abstention.
That's recused.
You're recused, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Votes of the board, approve one-day liquor license for Vanessa Lopez on behalf of the Friends of VC on June 16th, VC Memorial Park, from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Is there a motion?
A motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, this is the two-day event, Mike, right? Where they use like things we throw away to make fashion outfits, right? It's,
Yes. This is for, like you say, Kathy, it's a two-day event. It's called Rubbish to Runway.
Rubbish to Runway, I was trying to
Yes,
remember the name.
And it's inspired by fashions created from surprising materials, others destined for the trash bin. And all the funds raised, it's a fundraiser sponsored by the Friends of Easy Park, and all the funds raised are going directly into bringing artists and more art programming to the park. There's a link on the vzpark.org website if you're interested in tickets. From what I understand, there's not too many tickets left, so
Oh, okay, thank you for that. I have to get those.
thanks.
Exciting.
The trashy runway show, fashion show.
Yes, wow.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor?
Yep.
Unanimous.
Do we need to vote both days,
I was just
different
gonna ask
permits,
that.
or
Well,
do we need
I
to
mean,
vote both days?
yeah, I think we do.
Okay.
That's because we delineated it. All right, number 6 on our list here, approve one-day liquor license, again, for Vanessa Lopez on behalf of the Friends of VC on June 17th, VC Memorial Park, from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the one-day liquor license as described.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Curiosity, are we allowed to grant more than one day?
So there is only one-day liquor license and/or depends on whether or not it's an on-premise, whether or not it's a restaurant, whether or not it's a function hall. So there's varying degrees of licensure, and where they're only looking for 2 days of the entire event, so to speak. They can't do like a 2-day liquor license. We don't have that. We only have 1 day.
Okay, just curious, you know, if they pay twice. All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Yep.
Unanimous. Number 7, review and approval of band results.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is, does not require the board vote because the notes are being issued through the Department of Revenue. But since you'll be signing the ban documents, it was included as an agenda item for your review. Just so you knowledge, a ban is a bond anticipation note. A ban is a short-term debt instrument issued anticipating taking on long-term debt, typically issued for no more than 1 year. The town is going to enter into its final year on its current ban. We hope to pay this ban off in full next year. This particular ban, as you'll see in your packet, includes the highway police and fire radios, as well as the police line cruiser and fire EMS vehicles, all from 2018. It also includes the 2021 water and sewer water main replacement project.
So it's already been reviewed and approved.
Essentially with the treasurer of the Department of Revenue, as well as our advisors over at Hilltop Securities.
So it's just information that it's needs to be done. Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Kathy?
Yeah, I remember the articles, but how long have we had these, the radios and all that? How long ago was that?
2018 was when we voted.
Okay, so we're paying everything off in like 5, 6 years.
Correct.
That's pretty good. Good.
Anyone else? Moving right along. Vote for the application of surplus bond proceeds from a project which is complete and for which no further financial liability remains to debt service. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So this is from the 2017 water project on Main Street in Gardner. The project came in under, and in order to use those additional funds for future debt service obligations, an official vote is needed by the board.
And if we don't, what's the, we can't use them,
Essentially, yes.
just lapses out. We forfeit the funds, or it's just a,
Not sure we forfeit the funds as much as they just sit there, and they're not used to any benefit per se, and we're continuing to carry that obligation.
interesting, they sit there.
I think I'd have to double check with Hilltop Securities on what really happens with the funds if you don't use them to go towards future debt services.
I'm just curious. Seems like a contractual obligation from the start. No? Okay. Anyone else? We need to vote on this. Is there a motion?
There's a specific motion which
I was just saying, it's right here, yeah.
I have to read this?
Yep.
Want me to read it?
Well, you're the chair.
I'll read it. Can I make the motion?
It says I, the chair.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Vote of the Board of Selectmen to apply surplus bond proceeds to debt service. I, the Chair of the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Groveland, Massachusetts, the town, certify it at a meeting of the board held today,
May 22nd.
May 22nd, 2023, of which meeting all members of the board were duly notified and at which a quorum was present. The following votes were unanimously passed, all of which appear upon the official record of the board in my custody. Voted. This will be the motion to vote for this. In accordance with the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 20, the sum of $18,927.83, presenting the aggregate amount of surplus funds borrowed for the water mains project in 2017, which project is complete and for which no further financial liability remains, is hereby transferred to the debt service account to pay principal of and interest on indebtedness of the town. We confirm that the total amount remaining unexpended for the water mains project is not in excess of $50,000 as required by Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 20. I further certify that the votes were taken at a meeting open to the public, that no vote was taken by secret ballot, that a notice stating the place, date, time, and agenda for the meeting, which agenda included the adoption of the above votes, was filed with the town clerk, and a copy thereof posted in a manner conspicuously visible to the public at all hours in or on the municipal building at the office of the town clerk is located, or, if applicable, in accordance with an alternative method of notice prescribed or approved by the Attorney General as set forth in 940 Code of Mass Regulations 29.03, subsection 2B, at least 48 hours, not including Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays, prior to the time of the meeting, and remain so posted at the time of the meeting that no deliberations or decision in connection with the sale of bonds were taken in executive session, all in accordance with general laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18 through 25, as amended.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Need to add anything further? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Passed. Oh. Number 9. Approve and ratify the contract for Police Chief Jeffrey Gillen for July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2026. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve and ratify the contract for Police Chief Jeffrey Gillen for July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Oh,
Well, we're supposed to give an overview of the contract.
oh, an overview.
Yes. So he's not going to see the adjustment in the, he's not going to see the adjustment in the contract. So he'll be off of that.
Well,
Miss-
we agreed to renew Chief Gillen's contract. We're happy to have him. He's done an outstanding job. He'll be appointed under Chapter 41, Section 97A, and the initial term of this contract will be for 3 years, commencing on July 1st, 2023, and ending on June 30th, 2026. His contract may be extended upon mutual agreement for 1 2-year period, subject to its current terms and subject to negotiations of Section 3B of the Compensation and Benefits. The town shall pay the police chief the sum of $151,988 in the first year of his contract. After the initial year of the contract and on each succeeding years of his contract, the town shall pay the police chief the sum of $156,354 in the fiscal year '25 and $160,807 in the fiscal year 2026. In addition, it's vacation leave, 30 days in each 12-month period. No more than 10 days of unused vacation will be carried over. Sick leave accrues at 15 sick days per year, or 1.25 days per month. Upon full retirement as a full-time employee of the town or upon the chief's death during the term of this contract, the chief will receive 40% of the maximum of 180 days of accumulated sick leave. Personal leave, chief shall be entitled to 3 personal days per fiscal year at the chief's discretion. There's bereavement leave. Holiday, all town recognized holidays. Clothing allowance, $1,250 each fiscal year for the maintenance of clothing, equipment, and job-related subscriptions and services. Insurance, health, dental, life, same coverage and costs as other town employees. Duties, I think they speak for themselves. He's the chief. Hours of work, minimum 40 hours, Monday through Friday. The chief shall devote the amount of time and energy reasonably necessary to faithfully perform the duties of the chief of police under this contract. There are other terms and conditions here. It's public record if anyone wants to read through all of them. Would anyone else like to add anything? Okay,
No, I'll just say, echo what you said. Chief Gillen has been with us for a while. Under his guidance and direction, our police department has grown into more than just a law enforcement agency. They're also a community-minded organization, and they do the DARE program and Fill the Trunk. I've seen that going on, and they do, for a while, they were doing outreach for the young children in town with bicycle helmets. I forget, they were giving them coupons for ice cream, I don't know, some giveaway. Yeah, anyway, they do continue to keep making connections with our community and protecting us and keeping us safe at the same time. So I'm glad we can have Chief Gillen for another 3-year contract.
All set.
all right. All those in favor?
Yep.
It's unanimous. Thank you, Chief Gillen. Discussion and possible votes. Number 10, Economic Development Committee discussion. William Dunn and the town administrator listed here for discussion points.
Bill Dunn, 10 Garrison Street. Probably all know me a little bit. Thank you, number one, for letting me come in tonight on the agenda. And I'd like to thank every one of you guys on the board. I've been there, I know what it's like. It's not an easy job. I'd like to say that I was an advocate for a town administrator, and I think you guys got the right one. As we all know, we had to unfortunately do an override. It wasn't easy, I'm sure, for a lot of people in town to make a decision, but here we are. As we also know, our school budget is 64% of our budget. That's a big piece of the pie. We also know, or hopefully people know, the rubbish this year, and don't quote me exact, is about $738,000. Next year will be $980,000. On the third year will be $1 million. So where are we going to go if we don't get something under control here? So the town basically runs on peanuts, as you probably all know, what's left in the budget. We need to look a way to offset the budget. I know it will not be a quick fix. We cannot always look at the taxpayers and the government aid. It is not always there. The town of Raleigh, Georgetown, and other towns around us do not always have these problems because they have business backing them. We need to look at business to offset the revenue. For example, possibly redevelop the upper Route 97 area into a business district. I personally think if the Estes Park was done the right way when it was developed, and maybe it's changed since I've been around, they would have got property tax, sales tax, and other taxes out of that property. It was done right as a business park. Not blaming anyone. It was a long process, but we could maybe look at that. Strawberry Fields, in front of Strawberry Fields, we have some lots out there. I know the board and Rebecca has been trying to work on studying that land. 152 Center Street was just sold for $1.2 million. There was a building on it and a piece of land. It goes to show you, if we're going to be in these problems, where we could head. The old Barton Trimount property on Main Street in Groveland could be also looked at as a business, probably development or something in there as well. It's a big chunk of land. It's in Groveland. We could probably look at that as well. The Pines Rec area, back when I was sitting where you guys were, I went to very many meetings with the past finance director. I went to the Haverhill Merrimack Planning Commission. I probably said it wrong. We sat with them. They wanted to bring the canoes from Haverhill over to the Pines. We had worked the deal out with them. COVID hit. It went to the wayside. My point of that is we have a beautiful waterfront. We could possibly use that for revenue as well, or do something to help. All the town boards need to work together to try and get Groveland in a good economic way. We need our existing boards to keep to the law of the land, but also help develop Groveland. The town has been good in putting out fires, such as getting the budgets to the point where we didn't have to do an override. We will need another override again, I'm pretty sure, if we do not start running the town like a business and getting revenue in as well. I would like to ask the board to adopt an economic development board and members to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen to help develop business and land ideas in Groveland to keep us in check with local businesses and professionals. Again, I know this is short-term solution and is not the answer, but a step forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have an existing committee.
So, Mr. Chair, one of the things is that we had been working with Mike Dempsey, and we had created the Elm Square Committee. Originally, its main focus was to evaluate the gas station and potential purchase of that particular property. Once that was purchased by an outside individual and those plans fell through, the Board of Selectmen had reinstituted the committee to a much broader charge with the downtown and the town center, identifying parking, other types of business development, and, you know, market analysis of economic trends and things that would survive in that area. And as part of that whole dynamic, Mike and I at one point had talked with the board about expanding that charge to include businesses and commercial development townwide. And so we definitely would like to support moving in that direction, dissolving the Elm Square Committee, allowing this Economic Development Committee to take its place, and to refocus its charge specifically on a couple of areas that we've identified that would exemplify exactly what Mr. Dunn is talking about in terms of business creation, economic development, and creation of additional municipal revenue for the town. So I personally would be very much in support of that, and would like to work with Mr. Dunn in creating that with the Board of Selectmen if the board so chooses.
Do you have a copy of the existing charge of the Economic Development Committee?
So it's not an existing one. I have one for the Elm Square Committee, and again, it's more focused towards just Elm Square.
So what is this in, oh, it's for the discussion to create that.
Exactly.
So what's left to be done at Elm Park? Do they have unfinished business before they can wind that down, and we can consider terminating that?
Not necessarily unfinished business, so to speak. I mean, the focus was to identify parking areas. We did a market analysis through a grant through the Massachusetts Downtown Initiative. So we did initiate the process of trying to figure out if there's additional ways to enhance pedestrian activity and to incentivize development or incentivize commercial and retail in the center. It is met with its challenges. A lot of times it is geared towards parking. So it's not necessarily, and I don't know if Mike, if you remember more specifically, I don't think that it wasn't that they met their charge, it's just that the charge itself has grown, that the businesses in the town center also need the businesses on 97 and the other businesses in order to create that capacity to argue for different resources that would allow for them to want to stay in Groveland and be in Groveland. So if anything, the charge kind of grew larger than just the square itself. So I don't know if it necessarily wasn't that it was finished as much as it kind of became something of its own.
What about land use for town-owned property such as Center Street and Strawberry Fields? Is anyone looking at whether or not, you know, for instance, we could have a ground lease or sell a lot possibly, or develop a business park on the frontage there? Or is anyone looking at that? Would that be part of what you
That's what
want?
I'm thinking.
That-
This would be a professional board that would sit down like you guys do, maybe once or twice a month, no different than the planning board, no different than the health board or whatever, and this board would sit down once a month and come up with the ideas. And then we would get to the point where we'd be going saying, well, can we lease? We'd be asking these questions. Can we lease? Can we sell? What can we do? That's what I'm thinking.
So start
And I understand,
brainstorming. You want to get it going, just come up with ideas and see what people come up with. Kathy?
Yes, so I got appointed to the Elm Park Committee, but I don't think I've ever been to a meeting because I think it was after the sale of the gas station, I'm guessing. So I think Mike and Rebecca have kind of spearheaded a lot of the grants that have benefited our downtown. And I know that the Center Street property, we have a fairly significant grant that has that property under study to see what would be viable or what could survive there and give us possibilities. So I know I missed the one meeting. I know there's another meeting on it. So, I mean, I would personally like to be involved in an economic development committee with morph off the Elm Square, but more as an accessory to attending these meetings for the professionals that are already doing a study as to what can survive there, because you don't want to just start mishmashing the land. Everybody says, oh, sell it to business, sell it to business. If a business wanted a piece of it, they would have come to us already. So I think we need to await the results of the study to understand what might work there, and then have the people in town weigh into it. But in the meantime, I think it's a great idea to have a committee where citizens can become involved and maybe bring more attendance to these meetings, more attendance to master plan meetings, and get everybody more on board with what's going on in town and what our choices are. So I'm in support of it. I just feel that we already have a study underway on the Center Street property. We need to see the result of that.
I think this is personally, I think this is a bigger situation than isolating Strawberry Fields. I think it's a situation where you need to take a look at Groveland. You've got to keep in the back of your mind, we have the tax problem. We need to get revenue for the taxes. So I think Groveland is lacking in business, not just in Strawberry Fields, not just downtown. This is a big problem where Groveland is lacking business, period. We need to get a committee that's looking at why, how can we get this done, how can we put it together. We can't go put it in, wetlands, we can't go put it in certain areas, we gotta, there's areas in Groveland, I know if we could get a committee of some professional people, we could take some people that have land, I'm not gonna say names because it starts a war. We could sit down with those people and say, listen, are you willing to turn your land over and we can redevelop it and make an industrial area? We need to get to the point where, I understand that the Elm Park committee, that's a one little piece. We need a big piece. We need a committee, a bunch of professionals who will sit down and do an overlay of the town and say, this is an area we can work on, this is an area, this is an area. Now we start breaking it down into littler pieces, and then we do that.
Well, I think it's a really good idea. I just think we do have a town planner. We do have things underway. We have a master plan study on the Center Street study. I think everything has to work together. That's all I'm saying. I think it's a great idea because the Elm Park Committee, obviously, we're not doing anything, or at least nothing's going on that I've been involved in.
And
So,
again, like you just said, again, part of this would be sitting with the town planner, because the town planner is gonna be the one that's gonna be able to say, we can get grants, we can do this, we can do that. So it's not just taking a group of people and isolating them and not talking to other people. It's gonna be a big town administrator, Board of Selectmen, the health, the conservation. It's gonna be, they're gonna have to come up with a kind of the scope of and where we can do it, and then it's gonna have to fit that out from there. I mean, it's not gonna be something, like I said, overnight, but
right.
on the same token, I just personally, I can't see Groveland not going for another override. And another thing we can look at too is this, we could maybe have them look at the, bigger issues where money, like the rubbish and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, it just, me personally, I think we need in Groveland to start looking not to rely on taxpayers, not to rely on, the Chapter 70 money. I mean, I've heard rumors, it's only rumors, that Groveland's now considered a rich town, and that's why they don't want to give us Chapter 70 money, and they're cutting us back, because we have now let building go the way it is, and what have you, and we're considered a rich town. And the other thing is, if you take a look at our town next door to us, they don't need it, and if there is an override, they don't care, because they plan for the future. They got it out there. We have money saved. They've done some good planning. So it doesn't really bother them. I think that's what we need to get here in Groveland.
Ed?
Bill, this is something that's been kicked around for a while.
Yes.
And I know when you were on the board, you wanted to spearhead that, and things just fell by the wayside. But you mentioned three areas, the Tremont property, Center Street, and the business park up on 97. The biggest hang-up with those properties, they do not have town sewage. And it was looked at probably about 6 or 7 years ago, the Tremont property. And that was the problem. There's land to be developed there, but there's no sewage. And there has to be sewage run to these areas in order to bring in some businesses. And the town, as you know, I mean, and I've said it before, has been anti-business for a long time. They don't want them. Some of our laws, some of our zoning laws were rewritten in Elm Park to keep businesses away, and that was done. As I've said before, and you remember it, the school bus doesn't stop out in front of Chesterton. The school bus doesn't stop up at the business park on 97. But we need sewerage in all those areas that you mentioned, and that's part of the hang-up as far as getting it across the brook, down by the pump station and the solar field. Same thing up on 97. You need some sewerage up there. And that would, sewerage up there, and I don't understand why they didn't run sewerage when they ripped up a few years ago. Time goes by fast, what was that, about 5 years ago, when they ripped up 97. They should have run sewerage up there. And lack of planning. And it was right after that project got started. It was probably in the middle of that project when I was at a meeting with local selectmen, and I was approached that Georgetown was looking to run sewerage from Georgetown through to the pump station in Haverhill. And I said, well, there's only two places you can do that. 97, but that's out now because they just redid it. The other one is down the railroad bed, and that never materialized. But you're right, something needs to be done, but the infrastructure needs to be set up, and that's sewerage.
Right. And if you were to take, we can, you know, it's probably something we should let the community do, but just to kind of like, there's a saw main down by Estes Lumber. When you do these developments, you could probably make a deal with the people, or whatever, they can tie in, or they can do an infrastructure change, you know what I'm saying? I mean, look what they just did over here on 97. They ran a line all the way from there, all the way over to, basically, the backside of 97. They got themselves storage in there, didn't they? And the town should have benefited from that. I said that when I sat there, but, you know what I mean? If there's a will, there's a way. I mean, look at Daniels and the plumber, what's his name? Baldini. They did a beautiful job putting up their buildings and everything. I mean, I think it's time that we that's again, what Ed's talking about. We need to have, as that board or the group of people, that's the stuff we need to deal with. We can't just keep saying we can't do it. We gotta, it's at a point in time right now, I truly think that we're gonna have a problem with this budget every single season if we don't do something. I'll get going.
And you had brought up before about selling some of the town property, like we did. But if there was sewage in front of there, we would have got more money.
Most likely, yeah.
And the same thing with the old salt shed up on Salem Street, backs up to the school. It could have been sold, but it would just be too prohibitive for somebody to go up there and run sewerage.
One thing we have in our pocket, when I can sit here all night and talk about, and I don't want to bore you guys, but right now, luckily, on Center Street, there's a main in the road right now. I do believe we probably got something out of that project because there's a main in Center Street. That main in Center Street could be taken very easily up over the hill and into Strawberry Fields, and there's another, it went through Strawberry Fields. So I mean, I think there's some avenues now. I agree with Ed saying, we gotta start looking at infrastructure and piping and what have you. It all costs money. But I mean, I think I've seen developers come into an area and they're willing to do infrastructure changes. As you see, sometimes they'll go do an intersection, market basket, they'll do over an intersection. That's all in negotiating. It's all part of negotiating.
Have you given any thought to the makeup of this committee and the charge? Would you have a draft for a charge that you could present to us?
I wanted to come here first, but I have had some verbal conversation with some local business people. They all think it's a great idea. I wanted to see what this board had to say first, and maybe once we get a charge or whatever, we can start making some phone calls to local business people and ask if they want to come in. Maybe some local attorneys, maybe professional people. I mean, we need to get a group of people, not only, you know, people that can sit there and really put their heads together to make this happen. You know what I mean?
Well, if the board's too large, you might not have a quorum. So would you want a 5-member board, 7, 9? I mean,
Me personally, sometimes I find that the more people involved, the more conversation, the more, you know what I'm saying? I would say 5. I mean, you know, I don't know, it's up to you guys, you know what I'm saying? I can get along with anyone for the most part, you know what I'm saying? It's just that
5 members of the community, any selectmen, the town
It
planner?
makes sense to have a select person there. It makes sense to have when we have meetings, to have the town planner there. I mean, it's all gonna, as we get going, it's all gonna roll, you know what I mean?
Anyone else?
It doesn't have to be decided tonight. I'm only just putting this here. You guys can.
No, I have some ideas. I mean, you know, just what you said, I mean, I think we would have a broad charge, and I just jotted down some notes here, to explore ideas and options for economic development and tax savings, and to generate commercial tax revenue for the town of Groveland, something along that line.
Right.
Something broad.
And I don't know if your board would put it out there now and see what happens with it. You know, I don't know. I don't know how you want to go about it. If you
Well,
guys want to put it out,
well,
say,
I do
anyone.
have some bullet points drafted in terms of what the committee would focus on.
You do.
I do.
Well,
If the board would want to entertain
well,
that.
you know, if you can say it better than me, then absolutely.
If the board would like to entertain that, of
I would
course.
love to hear it.
So based upon initial conversations with Mr. Dunn and other business members, and also building off of what we had established with the Elm Square Committee, it would be the committee focuses their efforts in the following areas: advise the selectmen and other town boards on issues concerning bylaw, policies, regulations, and zoning that foster commercial growth, strengthen the local economy, and are consistent with maintaining the character of our community. Focus efforts on activities that maintain or expand the commercial and industrial tax base. Identify changing economic trends and develop recommendations to maximize interest in our community and attract these potential new businesses. Advocate for state and federal grants, incentives, or for improvements and regulations that help advance our economic priorities. Establish relationships and improve communication with local businesses. And I would highly recommend that it be staffed by the town planner and myself,
Staffed.
so we can help with the
As
administrative
voting
support.
members, or just sitting there as of council type?
Administrative support to recommend and to advise as necessary. Because most of you are all volunteers and you have full-time jobs, and what we're here to do is to help give you the information in order to make those executive decisions that you need to make.
Okay. But if we had 5 members, that'd be the voting members, and you'd give them advice and information, and they can't make decisions, they can only pass it on to us. Sounds good to me. Jason?
Sounds good to me. I think the biggest thing that Bill had mentioned is the collaborative work with the different departments. I think that's something that in the past hasn't been there, not nearly as much as it was, and that's why you end up with situations where roads get done, but the sewer line doesn't get done. I know we've talked about it here in the past, particularly with 106 King Street, with Union Street getting repaved because National Grid tore it up to do the gas lines. And while we were doing that, we brought in the water department to replace the water lines. And a lot of that's because Rebecca is working towards that collaboration. And it's been a really big effort, and I think moving forward, I think it'll just get better and better.
I appreciate that, but I think if we had a committee focused on business, and this town hasn't had one.
Dan, I'm going to ask you and the board members that have been here for a while. The biggest problem this town had is what he just said, collaboration. We never had boards talking to boards, and now you have a town administrator that's out there in the different boards, talking to different committees. It's starting to mingle. I mean, you guys got to see it. It's getting into mingle. I can see it myself. You need that position, in those positions, the town planner, they're bringing in the grants and what have you. It's all starting to happen. Now it's just getting to the final goalpost with stopping the money and trying to get our own money under control in the taxes. It will be done, but it will be, as I said, it won't happen overnight, but if we get going on it, we can, I see the quickest way we can, next town budget, get on that rubbish contract. Personally, I know I've talked to you, I've talked to Rebecca, I've talked to a couple of people in town, get on the rubbish contract, because that thing is gonna mushroom, and you guys are gonna be here, I'm telling you right now, you're gonna be here for another override. That's way out of control. And I believe, I did it when I was a selectman, we can bring that in-house, I swear to God, and save money. I'm telling you. It's $250 a tipping fee over there in Haverhill. You buy a couple trucks, when it snows, the guys can't turn around, and they can't go out and plow, truck rubbish, you throw them in a plow truck and you're not hiring a plow truck. So there's different ways to save money. You know what I mean? And I just think that we gotta get looking at this stuff.
So, where do you want to leave this? You want to come back at another meeting and
No, I
what
just,
do we want to do? Do we want to create a committee?
Well,
Kathy?
I'd like to see the town administrator have time before our next meeting to draft the charge and, you know, the makeup of the committee and everything, so that we have it before us, before the meeting, so.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I agree.
okay.
And it sounds like you've already made steps in that direction,
She's heading that way.
and the makeup of it. Maybe 5 business people and, all right?
Sounds great.
Are we good?
yep, thank you very much.
Thank you,
for
Mr.
listening to
Dunn.
my nonsense.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
I listen.
Yeah, and you were good. First time you and I talked, we didn't fight.
Well, you shouldn't provoke me.
You know I love you. Be good, bud. Thank you.
You know?
everyone.
You're tired of being a
Thank
punching
you.
bag, you know? Next up, number 11, temporary extension of hours for 4 Seawall Street Quarry Project, William Daly.
Mr. Chair, I received an email a little later, a little before this meeting, and Mr. Daly would like to withdraw the agenda item. He will no longer be needing an extension of hours.
Okey dokey. I don't think we need to vote on a withdrawal. We'll just pass. All right, that's easy. Number 12, Pines Recreation Dog Park hours, access gate and permit discussion from Talking Points, Town Administrator.
So you don't have anything in your packet, and I don't really have anything to offer right now. I wanted to get this on the agenda for an open discussion. As I'm sure some of you have heard from your email or calls that you've received from residents, there's been a few concerns about what's happening with the dog park. One specifically on the operating hours. I did have a conversation with the police chief, and he's had a couple of calls saying they don't have specific hours. So if somebody's out there at 11 o'clock at night, or if somebody's out there too early, so they were asking what the set hours were. So I wanted to bring that before the board so that the police can enforce that if there are set hours. Additionally, there's been a couple of people who have called and asked, you know, what is the permitting process? I know that Selectman Naves at one point in time had mentioned looking into what they're doing in some of the neighboring communities with their dog parks, so I wasn't sure if we'd made any progress there and wanted to continue that discussion. And then as well as like the gate, you know, allowing people in, and whether or not it was going to be card access, key access, or just open to the public, or I guess it just all kind of ties into the permitting discussion and kind of what we're going to do moving forward specific to the dog park.
Okay. Jason, would you like to comment on this?
In terms of the hours, I know originally I had spoke with Chief Gillen before we had actually constructed the dog park, and we talked about making the hours from 6 to 9. It was reasonable so people could get the dogs out prior to going to work, and afterwards, after work, when most everybody wants to get there, they can spread it out over time. I know he was looking to move that to closer to 8 o'clock last time I spoke to him, which definitely sounds reasonable to me. I wouldn't want to change it any earlier than that just because it would start to really overcrowd the dog park and eliminate people's ability to spread their time out at the dog park, so there would be less issues.
So you agree with moving it from 6 to 8 a.m.?
Yes, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then in
I thought it
terms,
was the opening time that was an issue. I'm sorry.
no,
Closing time, too.
It's closing time
it's just
also?
hours in general. Just the actual hours of open, that the dog park will be open to the public.
And currently they are?
Currently, there is no hours.
Oh, it's just you can go there at 3 in the morning.
Yes.
Get
And
the
that's-
dog- get
and
the
that's-
dog
and
barking.
That's what's got the problem going right now.
Okay,
And then
so daylight hours, basically.
Daylight summer hours. You can't really restrict it to daylight hours because right now it's light at 5 o'clock, dark at 9 o'clock, and in the wintertime it's dark at 4 o'clock.
All right, so we'll go 6 a.m. to
8 p.m.?
8 p.m. and try that out and see if that resolves some issues? Kathy?
Yeah, I agree with it. I think that as we add facilities down to the Pines Recreation Area, we're going to have to consider, like, you know, when you put in the tennis and pickleball courts, you might want to have those closed and secured at a certain point. It's expensive nets in there and equipment that could be removed if it's left open all night or damaged. And the dog park as well. It's a beautiful facility, and securing it, I think, at night would be a good idea. You know, keeping it as beautiful as it is right now. That's what the goal should be.
Yeah, we'll make adjustments as we go. Right? Ed?
Yeah, I'd rather see it, rather than 8 o'clock at night, dusk. It's certainly not going to, somebody in the late fall, when the sun sets at 4:15, people aren't going to be at the dog park. They ought to be, when the sun sets, they ought to be out of there.
They're not home yet.
6 in the morning till dusk, rather than 8 o'clock.
It's like a hunting hours. If you get caught in the woods, you know, it's dark, you're in trouble.
Well, people have to get home from work, and they
Gotta
might...
have the gun in the case.
People get home from work, you know, I know if I stay late at school, you get home, it's getting dark, you might still want to take your dog out. So I think to allow a little bit of flexibility till 8 PM is reasonable, to let people get home from work,
The,
you know.
after 4 o'clock in the fall, in the winter, when it's below zero, there's still quite a few people that go down to the park. And the reason for having a dog park that's available and having those type of hours is so the dogs can get their play, get all their excitement out, go home and be calm. And when you don't have that, the dogs become much more active at home in neighborhoods, barking and creating a lot more noise. And that's one of the benefits to the town of having a park that's accessible.
Mark, would you like to say anything?
No, I mean, doesn't really matter to me. I mean, 8 p.m., I mean, if we're all in agree with those hours, that's fine. I mean, is there lights? So that way they, you know, is it pretty well lit?
There's
It's not
lights.
gonna be like a safety issue, of, you know, because I know the whole park is supposed to be dawn to dusk, but, I mean,
Would you put a sign on the gate or something? How would you handle this, Jason?
Yeah, be a sign on the gate.
So it's
It'll be visible.
defined. There's no. well,
It'll be
this-
defined so the
sun's
police will feel
still setting,
comfortable
I'm
and
still here, you know, it's just.
they'll be
finite.
comfortable, the police will be comfortable enforcing it because there'll be a sign on the gate.
All right, anyone want to make a motion? Jason?
I'll make a motion to make the dog park hours 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. And just following up, I mean, how do we make the sign happen?
I believe Rebecca will take care of that.
Okay.
The other is,
I didn't know how that happened. You call Signorama or something, and they just put one there?
I think the town has
You
everything
go down there and
situated.
put it up there? Okay, all right, put that in the minutes. Rebecca's gonna go
Hard hat.
hang it.
Now, in terms of the accessing, you can't really lock that gate just because there's no other way to get out. With a group of people, that would be a problem. It's not like the boat ramp where people can go walk out either side of that.
Right.
What other towns do typically is they have just a dog tag, plastic is preferred, and they register, they get sent a tag. The biggest issue we have right now is not the willingness to do this, it's how we implement it. Who's going to get the tags? Who's going to send the tags out? Who's going to collect the money?
wouldn't it be the same as the registering your dog?
I would think so. That would all fall onto the town clerk, and she would capture most of the people when they register for their dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
But that would mean we would have to make it her responsibility. Because right now, she's expressed a lot of unwillingness to take any part in the dog park.
Do we have the authority to do that, Rebecca?
authority to create the permitting process.
The administrative additional
The tax.
work burden for the town clerk.
As an elected position, I mean, it's I don't see where there would be any, I guess I would follow up with town council, but from the outskirts, I don't see where providing the additional process would be outside of your realm of authority, especially considering the fact that that particular office handles the licensure of the dogs anyways. So I can follow up with town council, but I don't, on initial outset, again, I don't believe it would be outside of your authority to do
I'm
so.
collecting a dog license fee, even though my dog doesn't drive, you know? You know? What do they need a license for? Good job, Kathy.
Yeah.
Does your dog drive? Anyways,
Yeah.
so should we put that to a vote tonight?
Yeah, I think.
Jason,
Or
would you
should
like
we
to make
get
a
the
motion?
town council's feedback and do it next?
And an idea of what the tag would cost. I mean,
And how would we
We're
do
gonna
it?
find out what the cost of the tag is first, before we
Okay.
can really determine that. I
Okay.
think, right now, I would toss around ideas of $25 a year. I think that's reasonable, but it depends on how much that little tag costs. And then
And-
how much time would be projected to make sure we cover those costs as well.
And would those fees all go to that line item, the town clerk's office? Because they're doing all
I
the
believe it
work.
would go to the Pines,
well, the recreation
So
fund.
that depends,
That's the
because
new fund, right?
that depends, because the dog licensing fees goes to the operating the general fund. They don't go into any other
They don't,
fund.
okay,
So
all
if
right.
you wanted to dictate where those funds would go to, we could work to figure out whether or not they would go to the recreation and maintenance revolving fund as we just created that allows us to maintain and whatnot, or if you're looking to create your own revolving fund for that particular area, what is it that the board is looking to do?
I think it would go towards the overall maintenance, just because that would be beneficial for the town.
So that would have to
Could it be
part.
split so that some of the funds went to the town clerk's office? Because, I mean, they're gonna do all the work and.
Well, the operating funds go to support all of our efforts. If you think about it, the operating budget, you
Right,
spend those
right.
monies. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we could work out a split of some sort, a percentage
I
split.
think it'd have to be fair. Kathy?
So when we collect the boat ramp, but we used to have a boat for a while, but I never really knew, where does that money go?
So that goes into the Pines revolving fund, boat ramp revolving fund. So that goes into the
Oh,
maintenance of
so
the
we still
gate, and
have
it goes
that.
into the maintenance of the dock and everything that has to do with the boat ramp,
Okay, so,
the user fee.
right, so this could go into the recreation fund. We don't have a revolving fund. for
We
the
do,
dog.
we have a recreation, at the last town meeting, we voted to
Yes,
change the
okay.
Pines revolving fund to the recreation and maintenance of all of our town facilities, recreation facilities.
So it would help defray the cost of all of our recreation facilities. That's not a bad thing,
I understand.
yeah.
Ed?
Just as a point of information, a lot of people from out of town, they use their dog park, and they don't come to the town clerk's office to register their dog, they register them wherever they live. So, if they register their dogs here and they get the okay, the badge or whatever it is to use the dog park, they're gonna have to come in and see the town clerk, to
Scans up code.
to get this. And I think that if you're gonna charge $25, I think out-of-town people ought to be paying $50, just like at the boat ramp, the out-of-town people pay more than what the town residents do.
I think that'd be reasonable. Anyone else? Jason?
I wasn't aware that we allowed out-of-town people to buy a permit for our boat ramp.
Yes.
We do? Oh, okay, I wasn't aware of that.
And
So
it
it's
was,
done,
it was CPA funds also that funded that, so
I know,
we
yeah.
have to.
yeah. But I was thinking if you could put like a scan code down at the park with the, tell them by this date you have to have these tags to use the park. People that are, either don't get to the town hall when it's open or from out of town could scan it and pay that way.
And the only thing you don't want to do is you don't want to make it so prohibitive that people start going back and using the baseball fields like they used to.
No, but could you have like something like this, you know, some sort of lanyard, and they have to wear the permit on them when they're with the dog? I think that'd be reasonable. You want to make sure the dogs have their rabies, their license. You want to make sure there's accountability there. So, I mean, if you had a little, I guess ID or tag or something or a permit, you just put it on and they have to have it on their person. So, maybe.
I haven't seen any of the towns do that. I know Kingston and Beverly, Mass, they all rely on that tag on the dog.
On the dog?
On the dog.
Okay, all right.
Just like their regular licensing
Okay,
tags.
all right.
So it becomes a self-policing thing.
Yeah, as long as it's visible. I just
You
thought
can
of
bring
that
it up.
idea, you know, with the owner.
Yes, and then fortunately, nowadays, I don't think would generate a tremendous amount of more traffic going into the town's clerk's office because most people will just go online. So if we get that set up, they can go
Yeah.
online, they can make the payment, and then it would be up to the clerk's office to send out the tag.
Anyone have any comments on resident versus non-resident pricing, I guess?
Well, not just pricing, I think that, I don't think would be fair to put it on our town clerk to ensure that a dog from out of town has rabies and all that. I don't think she has access to that information, does she?
Yeah, but as part of
Be all online.
part of the process, I mean, they're just on input, you know, you put your name in there and your dog's name and the type of dog. I think we should know whether or not we have all pit bulls or Rottweilers. I think would be
No, it's not.
informative.
What I'm asking
but you
for-
can put the license number.
So you want the out-of-town dog to also put in their license number?
I think all dogs should have their license
Well,
number.
yeah,
in there.
obviously in town it's
Just on a
easy.
general, when you apply for it, whether it's 25 or 50, your name, your address, breed of dog,
Yeah,
you know, dog license number.
yep. I mean, I think 25 is very reasonable. I think 50 is a little bit high maybe. So, because I don't want to drive out the people that are going to support and bring revenue, I mean, it is revenue, okay? It's not a lot, but there's actually a lot of dogs that go in and out of that park. I'd be interested to see if we can, keep its popularity, how much you might bring in. It might be fairly substantial. If it's not,
And we
if it's
could-
not thought to I think doubling it is a lot. It kind of means like, we don't want you here.
Well, I think the biggest thing
No,
that we
that's
need
all.
to do first is find out what those tags are gonna cost.
Yeah,
And
I do agree.
some projected shipping and hours, so we could formulate a realistic.
I think the Daisy Troop could make them for us.
If it-
They were so
If it
cute.
isn't, double, I think it ought to be a little bit of
A little bit
a
more.
delta, even if
Yeah.
it's, 25-35 or 25-40,
Something like that, yeah.
because they pay nothing for our services, and we do have tax burdens, as that seems to be
Yep.
the
What's
po-
the-
popular discussion.
What's the difference in the boat ramp, price-wise, whether you're resident or non-resident?
The difference between the split between the difference?
Yeah.
I gotta pull it up. I don't know off the top of my head.
All right, Ed, while you're doing that.
33%?
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to push this off onto the town clerk's office. The town clerk is busy enough, and I don't think they can take on much more work. The town clerk's office is one of the busiest offices, and probably the busiest office in the town of Groveland. And I don't think it should be up to them to be handing out badges or whatever for the dog park. It just overwhelm the office.
Could the payment and the application be done online for a reasonable cost, and who would
I think it could be, we can
program
definitely,
the website, and how would that happen?
so we can definitely do the online payment. We would just do it through our city hall systems. We would be able to add a feature. So like if you were to go to pay your taxes, or if you were to go to pay another bill, you can go online and you just click in what it is, like fire permits, burn permits are all online. So we can do that, no charge. But like we're saying that the issue is the back end. So once we get that application, once that money says it has been submitted, who's going to put that name into the system, make sure that tag gets associated with that person, puts that tag into an envelope, sends it out, or has that person come in and needs one? What happens when that person loses their tag? How do they get a new tag? Who's the person who's going to manage the day-to-day aspect of that? And to answer your question, Selectman Parento, so for the Groveland resident ramp permit, it's $75, and for a non-resident ramp permit, it's $150. For a Groveland resident ramp mooring permit, it's $150. For a non-resident ramp mooring permit, it's $300.
That's cheap.
So it's double.
And that's very inexpensive for a mooring.
Right, I was just curious just to how much of a step it was, so.
I think we should hear from the town clerk on this too, you know, as a courtesy at the least. So I don't know what other people think, but should we put it off till next meeting and follow up? But Jason, could you come up with a course or action, or someone else on this board as to
Ag?
logistically how you're gonna actually sell these things and administer it?
Finding the tags is the hard part. I don't know how we get the tags that we currently use. But I'll reach out to Beverly and ask them.
Just do a copy job if someone has a successful system in place, and emulate it. All right, next up. Discuss goals for the Board of Selectmen. Kathy Castronella, Selectman, woman. Your agenda issue. Sorry, I'm mumbling.
That's all right. So, yes, I asked for it because I like to think that we have, I mean, we obviously have our regular duties that we follow, you know, the budget process, the setting of the tax rate, you know, all the hearings that we have to do and all that. But in between all that, I just didn't know if the board was open towards discussing, like focusing our attention on some goals. So I kind of jotted down a few thoughts that I had about items that are kind of sitting there and we're not doing much on yet. The trash contract, we're into, I think, year 3, and I feel like it would be good to have a small temporary committee take a look at what it's costing, how our tonnage is doing, how are we doing on the recycling side of it, and then look at what the options will be when this contract expires. I think it's 2 years out, but I think that if you did a temporary small committee for the part of this year and ask for some citizen involvement, it would be good for the town and for us to get that rolling ahead. Just to see what, just sitting there and having to look and looking through the options and what it would cost to do this or that takes quite a bit of time. And I thought that, you know, a small committee working with the town administrator could probably do some of the legwork and investigative work. And then hopefully before this contract is ended, we'll come up with an idea on what we would go to next. The other contract that I've been wondering about, and I have a copy of it, I haven't read it through, is the solar contract. And I'm kind of very interested in that to see what might happen when that ends, because I believe we're getting just like a flat rate, right? We're not getting any of the kilowatt hours out of that. So I'd be interested in maybe this board, as part of its duties, would want to have that as a discussion item. Let's take this contract apart and see what's in it. See what other towns have got for contracts. The solar is up and coming. It's a big deal. Then there's the Chapter 70 issue, and I've worked a little bit on the side outside of meetings, and I don't want to bog down the meetings because I don't really have anything that solves anything, but some people have stepped forward and said they want to look at it too, like citizens. So I thought just loosely, we should keep looking at this before the budget starts. So between now and September, we have to figure something out about whether we're stuck with what we're stuck with, or is there some way we can leverage more Chapter 70 for Groveland's share of the Pentucket District? Because we're definitely not getting the Chapter 70 money we used to get. That is very obvious. And that is unfair, because it does push our town into an override situation.
How would you like to approach it?
I've been looking at it from the formula side of it, and just breaking down the formula. I've gotten pretty far on it, and I just want to finish that out. maybe another side to it would be somebody wants to look into the legislative side of it and see why they're undercutting these regional districts, it seems, because we're a bargain for them. And they encouraged us to regionalize K through 12. And they promised us a lot. They promised us transportation funding. They promised us special education funding. And more especially, they promised us good Chapter 70 funding, and we're not seeing that. So to me, in my mind, that's something that we have to, for this year's upcoming budget, we have to know one way or the other by September, October, if we're going to be stuck with whatever they hand out, or if we have something we can leverage to do better. So I know I'm going to spend some time this summer because I have some time off, as you know. I'll tear that formula apart and build it up again and see what it looks like. They definitely are looking at our aggregate valuation, and part of me feels that that's unfair. It should be per capita valuation, because when you compare our valuation to West Newbury, we might look equally wealthy as a total valuation, but when you do it on a per capita basis by the people that live in the town, we clearly don't have the same size homes and land ownership for the most part in the housing in Groveland. So we're not as wealthy. So when you're using that aggregate, and I don't know why they use a percentage of that and a percentage of total income to tell us that this indicates how much you could pay towards your school budget. I have yet to discover something that explains how they come up with that, because Proposition 2.5% limits what we can come up with towards the school budget. And this formula has absolutely no reflection of Proposition 2.5 in it whatsoever. And that was definitely taken out from before, when they used to mainly look at municipal revenue growth. So I do want to finish that out, and hopefully some of the people that are looking at it outside too will come up with some ideas.
Should we reach out to our state rep and get her input on this, and maybe invite her to one of our meetings to try to explain it to us and see if there's any collaborative effort in the legislature to help suburban towns like ours?
Yeah, rural regional towns really is what you want to talk about, because the formula is designed for a standalone district, and all their examples show you how it works for a standalone, one city. So when you take 3 different things and 3 different valuations and you're putting it all together, you're swinging assessments and everything.
It skews things.
Yes,
I see
it does. It does. It definitely skews it, and it doesn't. In my mind, my overall thought is this doesn't work for a regional school district. You need to come up with something else.
I agree. It's just, how do we get it done?
I was going to just try playing with the numbers.
All right.
Okay.
To be continued. We'll follow up
yeah.
next meeting or when you're ready.
Yeah, and so the smaller project, the Washington Street property, I didn't know if there was any interest among the board members to a phase 2 to see if we wanted to spend any CPA money to try and open up access to the pond for maybe fishing if possible. It's just a thought, because we've done, phase 1 is done right now. It's cleaned up. It looks fine. It's good. Much better than it used to look. So now it's time to consider, what do you want for phase 2, and does this board want to put in for CPA money to do anything? And Mike Dempsey might have some ideas too on that. It's pretty good that way. And then I was just throwing those out, and whatever else other members of the board have on their priority list, things that this coming year maybe we should be looking at.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
okay. So nobody has any other?
I have ideas.
Oh, good, okay. So,
I'll let everyone else go first. Jason, you want to?
The only question I have is about the solar contract.
yeah,
Is that between us or the electric company?
we did it. It's the town.
That also includes the town.
That'd be interesting.
All right.
And then in terms of legislatively with Chapter 70, I believe from everything all the information I've received is they're not going to look at that, redoing that formula for the next 4 years, at the very least. They are working on trying to increase the minimum disbursements. They're trying to reallocate some of the funds that are going to towns that don't need them. They're also looking at increasing the transportation payback, or actually just pay us what they said they were going to pay us for the transportation. And they're also pushing towards special education reimbursements because of the pace at which they increase special education. So those are things that I know that legislatively they're working on currently.
Set?
All set.
Dad?
I agree. We should invite our legislative delegation, state senator, state representative. And if you look in reading about what some of these municipalities got, they got money to redo a ball field, they got money to redo parks, et cetera, et cetera. And these are communities right around us. To me, those are wants. We need money for the school. And we should put it right on the representative delegation that, look, we need some money for schools. We need, these are needs. We need them. You need to support the school. And if you can't get us any, then we're going to go shopping for another candidate, because we need the support. Forget these municipalities all over the state. They got $1 million for a stadium. They got a ball field, and you see them. It's all listed there. Those are all needs, not those are all wants, not needs. And it's important for us to support the schools. So we need to get a hold of them. We need to have them get us more money for the school. Have them do the job and put it right on them. Do it, or we'll look for somebody else.
Okay. Mark?
Good, I agree.
You know, we need more money for schools, and we're going to next year and the year after. The formula doesn't work. It's one size fits all, and it doesn't fit our town. So I don't know what to do about it. It's a political answer, Kathy. It won't be too political, but you got a one-party state, and it's not my party. So there's wealth redistributions, and it's not coming to Groveland. So I don't know what to do about it, other than what you suggest, Kathy, is maybe analyze and dissect that formula. I think it's like the Coca-Cola formula. It's secret, but I don't know how many people are willing to discuss it openly or actually do something about it. I think suburban towns, rural as you call them, I don't know how rural we are, but, you know, we're small. We need to somehow act in unity with other towns with similar problems to ours, because we're outnumbered and we don't have the urban Boston power base. So we have to act as a coalition, and I would like to hear from our state rep and our state senators how they can, what they're doing, if anything, to build some sort of coalition so that maybe towns like us can vote as a block at the State House and not just be, you know, kind of a, you know, the weakling. But I think we're weak, and I think, don't want to be cynical, but I think it's real that our cries fall on deaf ears at the State House. So I don't know what you think about that, Kathy, but
Well,
we have to try.
I agree. One call, I won't say whom I speak with, they said, well, we gave you $30 more per student. Does anybody know how much money that is in the budget? It's like $68,000 in a, what, $44 million school budget. We have a $20 million town budget, $68,000. Now, for me, you give me $68,000, I'd be a happy person right now. But when you're talking a budget of that magnitude,
Yeah.
and then you talk about the fact that they let an outplacements educational service raise its cost 14%. 14%. That's outlandish. And and the circuit breaker lags in a year. You have to file with this year's costs and get the money next year. So what does that do for this year? Pushes you to an override if you have a significant enough
You
increase
have to front
there.
it.
No, it's just backwards funny. No private company would ever run this way. They go broke. So I think that you make enough noise, they're going to do something. That's my thought.
Well, we have representatives in the State House. I think
Yep.
we should reach out to them. I agree with you, Kathy.
Yep. Maybe we should come up with our own number. What we think they should be providing for our Chapter 70 for next year. Start there.
Tell them what we want.
Correct. Tell them what we need. This is what we need.
This is what we need.
Yep.
Well, maybe everyone from Groveland can go down to the State House and then we can protest.
Well, I think if we wanted a letter.
What do you think of that? Would you go, Mike? Mike would go. All right, I'm going with Mike. We'll go alone if we have to, Mike. We'll go. Make a field trip.
I think, I've heard from like 13 or 14 people through emails and online that want to be involved, want to do something. Maybe we do target at some point a letter writing campaign, and we draft a letter and we get everybody in town, send in these letters, we just bury them in
We
paper.
need a protest committee that just like,
You just want to have a protest. He said he was going to be mellow today.
I'll be on the
Already-
protest committee every week, but, it's got to come with a big stipend. I need a conflict waiver from the state ethics. We'll get down there and raise hell.
Yep.
Squeaky wheels sometimes get the grease, sometimes they get replaced, so, I don't know. It's worth a shot.
Worth a shot. Yep.
All right. To be continued, for sure. Upcoming annual appointments to town boards and committees. No votes will be taken, discussion only. Talked to Rebecca about this, and I think we put the, need to know what our, kind of a census is and which committees have expiring terms and vacancies, and maybe we can put something on the town web or talk to your friends and family and neighbors and see if we can recruit qualified people, or at the very least, people that, want to serve the town and try hard. So, what do we got coming up, Rebecca?
So in your packets, I put together a list based upon the committees that we have and where we'll have vacancies this year. There was one individual who had asked not to be reappointed. The standard procedure in the past has been that we just reappoint anyone that is currently serving unless they choose not to be reappointed. I know that a couple of selectmen members had recommended that we change that process and that we be more proactive in reaching out to these individuals, seeing if they want to be reappointed. I think that in terms of a vacancy, we're actually doing a lot better than we had historically. I think that essentially we would just need to reach out to those individuals who are set to expire and see whether or not they want to be reappointed. There's a couple of committees that we no longer have in play that are listed. The Groveland Open Space and Trails Committee is now the Recreation Committee. The Town Government Study Committee is not there. The Community Preservation Committee, I did make it one error. Currently, Selectman Watson is on that, and he's up for a reappointment. Selectman Nays is a representative from the Recreation side, but all of the other members are appointed by their respective boards, as well as the Master Plan Steering Committee. They are appointed by the Planning Board. But as you'll see, we're in relatively good shape there. The only elected positions that we have vacant are on the Board of Assessors. So we have 2 vacancies on the 3-member board, which is not very good. But otherwise, all of our other elected boards are all filled. Planning Board, Zoning Board, Planning Board, Light Commission, Board of Health, Water and Sewer, everything else is filled.
Anyone have any comments, questions?
Well, I think that the Board of Assessors is critical, so maybe we should get a short description. I know they have to get some kind of a certification, but I believe it can be done online now.
That's correct.
Does it cost them money to do that?
I don't believe so, and we would be able to reimburse through the expense line item if it did.
So perhaps if we could get a short description and the certification, explain how often do you feel the Board of Assessors would need to meet to be doing their job.
The Board of Assessors does not meet that frequently. It's really only when we get down to setting the tax rate do they meet more frequently. We do have a contract with Patriot Properties, and they help with the evaluations and the assessment, as well as our assessing manager. So it's not as of an active board as some of the other boards. So I would say that while they probably are supposed to be meeting monthly, they probably meet closer to 2 to 3 every so often.
Well, is there anything for them to do in between before setting the tax rate?
It depends on how active the board wants to
Oh,
be.
okay,
I mean,
okay.
any board can be more active in participating in what we do on a day-to-day basis, but there's some boards that want to just come in and make a decision and leave, and there's others that want to be actually involved in the process. So, to be honest with you, it really depends on who you have in those positions.
So if we'd appoint for 1 year right now because
We'd only be able to appoint for 1 year.
because we made it appointed at the town meeting, the Board of Assessors.
But we still need to go through the process of getting it on the ballot, so it's not a complete,
Oh, it's not done yet, so we'd still need to appoint again, okay. Well, I think if we don't have a Board of Assessors, we can't set our tax rate, right? Yeah, so we need to jump on that one.
So what do we do? Post it, advertise it, flag them down.
So, like a
Put-
finance board
Put
member,
Kathy on the board.
finance board can't be on it, right? Because they can only be on finance board? Or could they?
I'd have to double check on that. I'm not sure if you can serve on a
Right, where are
dual
you
board
going?
like that in that role.
Okay,
Conflict.
You got free time.
yeah.
So then would the board like to go, like the list that's provided to you, other than the ones that ask specifically not to be reappointed, would the board like to reach out to those individuals, letting them know that their term is set to expire in June 30th, 2023, and do they wish to serve another term? Or do you want to just say, these are the, not renew them, and then put it up on the website and say, you know, as of June 2023, we'll have 3 vacancies? What would the board prefer in terms of their advocacy for filling these positions?
I suggest that we send them an email and thank them for their service and ask if they would consider another term, subject to the approval of the Board of Selectmen. But if we just re-up them,
Right.
there's no communication there, and I think at the very least just say, thank you for serving for 3 years, or 2 years, or 1 year, and it doesn't hurt. You know, Kathy?
Yeah, I thought along the same lines, except I thought that if it was a committee that has, more than just a couple members, perhaps reaching out to the chairman of the committee and giving a list of, asking if these members are active and asking if the chairman could just speak with them and tell, we can send our appreciation and the same thing to the chairman.
Yeah.
And then that way it kind of keeps it in the committee and,
I agree, that'll work, and then they just, the chairperson could forward that to Rebecca with a list of
who wants to be,
the ins and the outs.
correct, that's,
At least we, thank them and ask them to consider another term. Anyone else?
but maybe along your lines, though, anybody who says they don't want to be reappointed, we should automatically send like a letter thanking them for their
Yeah.
service, yeah,
I think so.
yeah, that'd be nice. Do we need a motion on this, or is it good as discussed?
What needs to be done, Rebecca, to make this happen?
I just need to send out the email to the chairs and let them know exactly what was discussed.
All right, so that's administrative. I don't think it requires a vote.
Nope, and then for the ones that do have vacancies, like the Historical Commission has a vacancy, and I believe there's another one that I saw that had a vacancy, I can advocate on our social media pages and on our website that there's a vacancy within that committee.
Okay. We could possibly vote on it at that point in time if we have candidates.
Sounds good. The only other one that was just the one on hold I was going to ask is about the Elm Square Committee, because if we're going to officially dissolve them and create the Economic Development Committee, we could potentially ask those members, because they are business members as well, a few of them, if they would be interested in serving on that. So that was the only one I was going to think of holding on until maybe the board had a better understanding if they wanted to move forward with that.
I think we need to find out what the charge is and that we're going to do it so that we're not, creating a false start.
Yep.
But certainly as a courtesy, thank them for the work they've already done and see if they want to make a lateral move over to a new committee.
I didn't do any work.
You didn't do any work?
No, I got on it after.
Well, you can next time, you know? It's a new day, next play.
Thank you. Didn't go to a meeting.
It's always next time. Celtics. All right, moving right along. Town administrator's time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a couple of items. One, there's been a lot of questions in regards to Article 35 and the warrant article to add monies from the stabilization funds to write off the old vendor account. So I just wanted to clarify that there was a mistake. After speaking with the auditors, myself and the accountant had misunderstood and thought that we needed to have the money on hand, and we actually needed to take money out of the stabilization account to cover the write-off. That is incorrect. Everything that we had talked about in terms of the error that had happened, that was something that happened over 20 years ago and how the variance had occurred, is correct. Everything remains true. It's just that we do not need to have that money on hand. We need to write that money off, and it will impact our fund balance, which is the starting number for our free cash calculation. So no money needs to be set aside in order to cover the write-off for that particular issue, and we apologize for the confusion, but even if it was to have passed, we would have recognized that and would have been able to adjust in our reports with the DOR. The other couple of items is I just want to publicly recognize our cemetery superintendent, Chuck DeRosa, who recently received his hoisting 2A and 1C license, as well as Justin Bird on the highway department, who received his 4G hoisting license, which is really great that they're obtaining those additional licensures in order to better aid their departments. We held our first public listening session regarding 150 Center Street on just last week. We will be having another public listening session in July. This will be a hybrid meeting. We did receive constructive feedback at the meeting, and we will be better prepared to advertise the meeting well in advance, and we will use all platforms in order to do so. Overall, the meeting was informative and productive, and even on the off days, we invite residents to continue to have those conversations and provide feedback that the program project team will be analyzing throughout the whole process. And this is just a reminder, since there was a lot of questions as well, is that this was a mass development site readiness grant that the town planner and I had applied for last year. The award was for $191,000. The engineering team was selected by Mass Development, and the decision to apply for the grant was sparked from conversations with the Board of Selectmen, the Master Plan Steering Committee, and the Community Preservation Committee surrounding potential reuse of the parcel and ways to generate additional revenue. I also wanted to let the Board of Selectmen know that unfortunately the Salem Street Dam is getting worse. It was placed on the significantly hazardous dams by DCR. That was done back when Bob Arakellian was the roadway commissioner. We had taken steps in order to get it inspected by an engineer and try and put some more monies into investigating what needed to be done in order to rectify the situation. Unfortunately, with recent rainfall events, a sinkhole has formed in the sidewalk. We have put protective measures in place, and we have tried to mitigate that specific issue. However, the need for repairs is imminent. We have allocated monies for initial soil boring, survey, et cetera, and we've been trying to talk with our state delegation about adding earmarks to this current budget to try and get monies for the actual construction cost, which is about $500,000. What I've been having in initial conversations, it doesn't sound like the state delegation is going to be able to get us much towards that $500,000. So we are actively searching for grants and trying to come up with ways to be creative and get that funding in place, because we do need to address that sooner rather than later. And the state is starting to require additional inspections and additional measures that are going to cost more and more money if we're not able to rectify this situation sooner rather than later. I also wanted to update the board and let them know that I am applying for an underutilized grant for 46 Washington Street. That was a property that we did not apply for last year, as there was conversation surrounding an art studio, and we were a little unsure about the next steps. So we are applying for that grant this time around. There is no match required for this grant. Also letting the board know that we applied for a municipal vulnerability preparedness grant. It's called the MVP program. For Johnson's Creek watershed. We have a bunch of different flooding concerns over on Johnson's Creek, This can cause a lot of issues with our transportation routes. So we are looking specifically at the Washington Park parking lot and the runoff situation that is occurring, as well as replacing the existing culvert at Lower Center Street with an open bottom culvert and restore the stream channel. And then finally, just to let the board know that I am working, that the Collins Center had finalized their review of our HR policies. This was from a community compact grant back in 2018 that we realized monies had not been spent, and we were given the opportunity to take another stab at it. So I'm reviewing those new draft policies and trying to come up with our new draft, and hopefully we'll be getting that before the board in July to review as the Personnel Committee.
Is that all?
Yes.
Not very busy. No.
So this $500,000 dam problem, what if we just take the dam out? What do you think, Mike? What would happen? Why do we have a dam? Can the fish swim upstream? Can they spawn? I mean, what's the dam for? Can I?
Use a boat to cross.
Can somebody explain that to me?
Well, it would be devastating to property and loss of life, which is why it's called.
Loss of life.
That's why it's on the significantly hazardous dams list, and that's what classifies it as such.
Whose life?
Downstream. The dam was to go, the amount of water, it would
Mike,
flow
do you
down.
live downstream? Oh, jeez.
It'd be a tsunami.
No, in all seriousness, all kidding aside, I mean, how come we don't have a capital improvement plan for this dam? Was this just oversight, undersight? I mean, just like you forget about it? I mean,
We're trying to put plans in place that actually address our infrastructure, like we were talking about earlier with Mr. Dunn, and trying to do sewer infrastructure and water infrastructure in order to provide those additional enhancements. We're trying to put, sidewalk improvements and other types of larger projects on our capital plan, and this is one of them that we had started to look at and try and identify that specific number that needed to be associated with the construction cost. So we are planning to move in that direction, but it doesn't help us because that wasn't done before.
I'll go look at it. You just pour more concrete on it.
We did. I mean, I'm sure Selectman Parento can speak
Get
better to
the
it.
aquatic, what do you call it? Hydraulic cement out. What do you think?
Well, we looked at it 10 years ago, and we were gonna sleeve it with a massive plastic pipe, and I remember, because when we did the 4 sewer main for the elementary school, that same company that supplied us with that material was telling us how that they could sleeve that whole thing, and then they fill in between it and this and that, but, I mean, it's gotta be, 150 years old, all that stuff over there, right?
I know, but is there a Band-Aid solution? Not that I'm looking for that as the ultimate, but to buy us time. We need $500,000 and don't have it?
It's exactly what Selectman Parento, that is the solution. That is what we need to do in order to
How much
Band-Aid.
How much money is involved in that?
$500,000.
Oh,
Because
that's the Band-Aid?
to remove it and to reconstruct it is millions of dollars.
That's the Band-Aid.
That's the Band-Aid, huh? I think we just drain the water out of there. What do you think, Mike?
And then we got Uptack Roads coming up.
We'll just use it as our water reservoir or something. We'll just drain it. We'll drink it. I'm just, brainstorming.
It's
Half a brainstorming.
Salem Street is a major transportation corridor and connection, so we're gonna need to start limiting heavy truck traffic, which could cause issues as well if we don't try and address the situation sooner rather than later. We were fortunate to get a grant for the Uptack culvert, and that had a sinkhole. That's gonna start getting replaced in June of this year, which we're excited that that's finally gonna happen. But now we need to find more funding for this project.
This is the first I heard of the problem. All right. Let us know what the solution is, Rebecca.
We're working on it.
Okay. Any questions for the town administrator?
No more questions.
Issues?
Yeah, well, just wanted to just share some information that
Sure.
it was a 285,000, is that the variance that's been isolated? Yes, so for me, it was a very personal issue when I realized what had happened, because back in, now I'm going to date myself, the 1990s, that's what drew me to become involved in this town and the finance board to begin with, because there was a variance between the treasurer and the accountant that couldn't be resolved for a whole lot of different reasons. I will say this, that this problem occurred at least 10 years ago or more, The new accountant, Ellen, our current accountant, when she came in, began working on it and made a lot of progress, but to try to go back and find every accounting error that was pointed out in the audit reports and undo it and see where that goes would be an unbelievable waste of taxpayer dollars, because you'd have to hire someone to do that, and a real waste of our financial team here. I think they've done an exemplary job looking at all sides of it. For people that thought that perhaps there was a fraud risk, there is no fraud risk. That would have been noted in the audit report. The auditors are skilled in looking for the signs of that. That's not what this is. The fact that our financial team was willing to put it on a town warrant because they thought that might be the right way to go shows the complete transparency and honesty of this team. There's no cover-up. There's no intention to hide anything. This is right up front. This is a long-needed correction. It puts this town in good financial standing, and the people that did all the hard work to bring this forward and to bring a solution to us, myself, I'm grateful to them for their efforts. And I thank them also for answering my multitude of questions as I sorted out in my own head why this would happen again. And I'll also point out, going forward, because our town administrator never takes credit for herself, and that's going to be in your next review, that you need to start taking credit, that the very policies and procedures for financial controls that she brought to this board during her first year are what are going to prevent this from reoccurring. They're good, they're long-needed, they're what we should have done. They were noted in audit reports to be done, and this town administrator went at it right away and took care of it. So I don't know what else I can say. I know that a lot of people had a lot of questions and thought a lot of things about this, and I just would say it's an open book. The audit reports are online. Look at them. The fact that it was brought to a town meeting shows the complete transparency of this. And I believe our town employees acted in the best interest of the town and did an incredibly great job doing that for us, and I thank them for that.
Jason? Anyone else? Yeah, as far as that accounting adjustment, I mean, it's required, isn't it? DOR says we have to do it. You know, it's been reported for several years, many years, maybe even a decade. When I was on the board my first term, years ago, you know, it was in the advisory letters. So we should have, could have, it should have been adjusted years ago. And now it's being adjusted. It has to be to make the financial statements proper. But it just goes to show you the importance of just maintaining books and records and reconciling frequently all accounts so that things don't snowball, because I can tell you as an accountant, you know, I call them the sins of the past, and prior period adjustments are almost impossible for you to go back in a time capsule and reconcile, you know, 5, 10, 15 years worth of books. You know, it's not cost effective. And you may only find reclassification entries, and if you nail down the actual cash and you know that there wasn't any misappropriation of funds, I mean, it's like, my opinion, you know, 95% of the books is just reconciling cash. You know where the money came from and you know where it went. You could have what I call geography errors and book entries and reclassification entries to do. And I think at this point in time, DOR has instructed us that we have to adjust our fund balance, and it does have an impact on our free cash. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So we're finally bringing it to a conclusion. Okay? All right. Next up, Selectmen time and reports. Who would like to go first? Kathy?
Oh, I did first last time. Go down there.
Okay.
Thank you.
The fielder's choice. Ed?
Sure. Just to remind everybody, Memorial Day service Thursday night, 7 o'clock, fire station. And Rebecca, I don't know if you noticed, if you mentioned about the dedication for the rail trail?
That's right. On May 25th at 10 a.m., we are doing a grand opening for the trail. I know it's been open for a little while now, but finally, all of the pavement markings and everything have been done, so we're inviting Mass DOT and our partners down for a ceremony on the 25th, Thursday, 10 a.m. at the Main Street entrance, 446 Main Street, and you'll be able to pull off on the side where there will be future parking.
Did you say, Ed, that was 6 o'clock? Or 6:30?
I had it at 7. The Memorial Day service, I have it at 7.
I thought it was 6:30.
I thought it was 6:30. That's why I'm
6:30?
just questioning that. I don't have it in front of me. We did last time.
I thought he asked about the community trail opening.
I'm sorry.
He did.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm all set.
Memorial service, what time?
I had it at 7 o'clock.
Do this any worse.
You had the memorial service at 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
Is that accurate?
I have it as 6:30.
Then I'm not all wet here, okay?
No,
What
I
is
think
it?
it's 6:30.
well, actually, Dan, I did that because I figured at 7 o'clock would be all over when you show up.
That's nice, but it won't. I'm gonna be there, maybe I'll sing this
All right, 6:30.
national anthem.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'll be there. And did you mention the parade?
I didn't mention it, but you can.
Curiously, how come this isn't an agenda item? It's just correspondence?
I just got it in the Selectmen mailbox.
Oh, it was a late arrival. I'll read it then, if I may. Memorial Day Parade.
It was late last night.
What's that?
This is an invitation for us to attend. We were supposed to reply by yesterday.
I'll read that, sure. It's addressed to the Groveland Selectmen and women. The Haverhill Memorial Parade Committee wishes to extend to you a cordial invitation to take part in the Memorial Day Parade and services to be held on May 29, 2023. Please arrive at 64 Canosa Avenue in Haverhill by 10 a.m. to assemble for the parade. Parade will step off at 10:45 a.m. from Canosa Ave to Main Street, proceeding left down Main Street. There's a route here. In case of inclement weather, the ceremony will be held at City Hall Auditorium. Participants will assemble at 9:45 a.m. Following, there are Memorial Day services at Lindenwood Cemetery, a collation luncheon. Is that what that says? Collation? Luncheon will be served at AM Vets Post 147 for parade participants. AM Vets is located at 576 Primrose Street, Haverhill, Massachusetts. Says, kindly please RSVP before May 21st. What's today? 22nd. Okay.
What time do you have that at?
When'd you get it? It's okay. All right. What else do we have?
We can go down the whole row.
How about the rest of them?
What are we doing? Oh,
Selectmen's time.
I'm all set.
were you done?
I'm done.
Mark, man of many words. Mark, you sure? Yeah. Come on, there's got to be something in town. Jason.
Yes. I really want to thank the highway department for getting the boat ramp in and all the work they did down at the Pines, because it really looks spectacular. And that is it.
All I say is I want the Celtics to play better, okay? I'm really depressed. So, if no one else has anything at a selectman time, I'll move on to older. Oh, you?
You didn't get to me yet.
Oh, Kathy Castronellis.
Yeah.
What would
I
you
said
like to
start
say?
the other way. Just because I feel like we'll miss out on some of the graduations that are happening, I wanted to wish, I think on behalf of all of us, to all the families that have students graduating, congratulations. It's a really great time of their life and your life, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of parties around town, and it's a wonderful occasion, and I hope everybody has a good time. Enjoy it. Congratulations to all our graduates.
I hope to have 3, but Mary needs to hand in all her assignments. Hope she's listening. Anything else? Older unfinished business. Kathy,
I don't think so.
I think we covered a lot tonight.
I think we did a lot.
Jason?
Yeah, I think I'm all set.
I just kind of just thought of this. We still good for the water bubblers at Bagnell? Is that like scheduled to start as soon as they get out of school, or?
So I sent out the request for proposals to 3 of the firms in the surrounding area that perform that work. I've only heard back from one of them, and they had said that they were arranging a time to meet with Bob Danforth, the facilities coordinator, to review the work and then would like to submit a bid. I had not heard back from the other 2, so I'm very hopeful that this firm will provide a scope, a proposal with the scope that was provided. So it really depends on them, and then whether or not they can order the materials and begin the work. But the money has been set aside for that specific purpose.
All right. Yeah, I was just wondering because, I mean, the other thing was the contact with the summer program. Make sure they're aware, because I don't want anybody, getting in any arguments, because we seem to have that happen quite a bit between the summer program and the school, so.
Yes, we have a new director for the summer program, and we have a new process with communicating with the school, specifically with only communicating with the facilities coordinator. And we, so far, have felt as though it's been working great, and hopefully it will continue to do such. But we're definitely aware of the past situations and avoiding it at all costs in the future.
All right, sounds good to me.
Edward?
All set.
Older unfinished business. There's a lot of unfinished business, but we're working on it. So, I'll pass. Other items not reasonably anticipated at the time of posting of our meeting. Kathy?
Nope.
Rebecca? Did you forget something?
I always forget something, but I don't believe so that I can think of right now.
Okay, Jason?
Good.
Mark?
Good.
Ted?
All set. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
No, there's one more thing. 15. Board of Selectmen Executive Session Meeting Minutes, May 8th, 2023. So,
Is that our correspondence, or is that to accept?
yeah, everyone read it. We'll maybe vote on that next time.
Yes,
Just help me with the agenda.
sure.
So that'll be timely next meeting.
That's fine.
All right. It says the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Selectmen will be Monday, June the 5th, 2023 at 6:30 PM. With that, I don't have anything else. Somebody want to make a motion to?
Oh, wait, there is one thing.
Did I miss something?
No, it's just a thought to think about.
You want to critique me being chairman?
No, not that
Was
yet.
I timely?
I'll let you know.
Was I efficient?
I'll get back to you on that.
The deliberations out, the verdict.
Any consideration towards, during the summertime, moving our meeting to 5 or 5:30?
Oh, my God.
Well, you're not doing taxes, right? I mean, really, you have flex.
I still work or I starve.
It's
I mean,
flexible.
I'm self-employed or
Flexible.
self-unemployed,
Well,
no
it's just
matter
a thought.
which day it is, you know?
Think about it. That's all.
Maybe we can
the
compromise,
summer.
wiggle room, maybe.
For summer hours. Summer board meeting.
We could maybe move it to Tuesday so I can take Mondays off and like not come back to Massachusetts that Monday.
I have tennis match.
We could horse trade.
My tennis team-
Tuesday at 5, but
Tennis
I'm
team
taking
plays.
Mondays off, 4-day weekends, 3 days weekends.
I'm talking about the meeting time. Well, you
Fishing.
think on it. Summertime.
It's up to these guys, you know, I'm just,
They don't mind.
Ed, you're gonna be up Old Orchard Beach though, right? We'll go fishing together.
Cool.
We're like neighbors. Nobody knows that, but they do now.
It's on TV. There's so many people watching.
Hi, everybody. How do I look? I need a makeup person. Motion to adjourn, somebody?
Please, we did that already. Call it.
Seconded.
We did that.
All right, all those in favor?
Yeah.
Have a good evening, everybody. Stay well.